on, the president, Mohamed Morsi, set off a political firestorm at the end of November when he declared that his decisions would be immune from judicial oversight. His decrees sent pro- and anti-Morsi protesters into Tahrir Square in dueling demonstrations. President Morsi has insisted his move is to ensure stability in Egypt, but that did little to calm the protesters. Joining us now on the phone for more on this is Mr. Morsi's cabinet chief, Mohamed Refa'a al-Tahtawi. Thanks for being with us. So November 22nd, Mohamed Morsi announces that essentially he's now ruling by decree with no oversight whatsoever from the judiciary. Critics are saying this is essentially is undemocratic and that Egypt is going back to the times of President Mubarak. What do you say to that?
In fact, this is a mispresentation, madam, because what the president, in fact, wanted is to guarantee a swift move toward stability and democracy in the sense of having a constitution, a permanent constitution, and to have an elected parliament. He is a president who is moving forward to have a constitution that will curb his prerogatives.
Right. But why then? I'm sorry to jump in, but why then issue this announcement that he's ruling by decree, making himself above the law, essentially, in Egypt? This is bringing back terrible memories for Egyptians who...
In fact, this is not exactly what he said. We had a problem in the last 2 years that whenever we have a democratic move forward by electing a parliament, we have a setback by the Constitutional Court on technicalities. We had a parliament elected in a free election by 30 million voters, and then the elections were cancelled. In fact, what he is aiming at is to make the process of moving forward toward having a constitution and parliamentary elections without major hurdles. Especially the Constitutional Court was completely politicized. When you have a Constitutional Court declaring by some of its judges judgment few months before it happened, I would like to recall.
Go ahead. We just lost you for a second there, but go ahead. We can hear you now.
That these constitutions had its ruling known beforehand.
So you're saying the constitutional, I'm sorry to jump in again, you're saying the Constitutional Court was biased, that therefore it wouldn't make sense for Mohamed Morsi. But when will this end? When will Mohamed Morsi, the president of Egypt, go back to being accountable to the country's judiciary and not ruling essentially unilaterally?
After 13 days. After 13 days, because we have to vote on a permanent constitution on the 15th of this month, 15th of December, means that as soon as this constitution is voted, he will lose all his legislative power, and this constitutional declaration, which he made and which made his decisions immune from judiciary.
So another 13 days, if I'm correct, just so our viewers are clear. But let's talk about the Constitution itself, and mainly let's talk about the Constituent Assembly. You have Christian members who've said, we're resigning. This is not a representative body here of Egyptians. Our voices aren't heard. It's only Islamists deciding what goes in this Constitution, essentially. So should Egyptians be worried?
No, this is a very valid point, because if we go through the Constitution in an objective way, we will find nothing Islamic and nothing biased to any part of the Egyptian population. But there is a great problem that a major part of our population feels that he is not represented by this Constitution, rightly or wrongly. And I would like to say that this Constitution guarantees all liberties, and especially the liberties of Christians and Jews.
Well, the Christians walked out. The Christians walked out. They said, we have no business being in this body. Also, the other thing is you have 3 of Mohamed Morsi's advisors who resigned, including one, Samir Morkas, who said this announcement by the president was undemocratic. I mean, that's a lot of criticism for a president who's doing nothing wrong.
Madam, again, I tell you that I was visiting the Pope, the Pope of Egypt, 4 or 5 days ago, and we discussed this. I told him, okay, it saddens me that we have a constitution without the participation of our Christian brothers. But they participated in the first part, in the 2/3 of the drafting of the constitution, and then because of one article, they felt that this article is not acceptable, especially by many of the Christians. They decided to withdraw. But I would ask any objective observer, any objective judge, to go through the articles of the Constitution and try to find something which is biased for anybody or against anybody. Right. And this is the real problem. We judge the outcome without really going through the content.
We will. We have this is a discussion for another time. Mohamed Refa'a, al-Tahtawi. We have looked into the draft constitution there, and there are many questions there as well. But for now, we have to leave it. Thank you very much for joining us and for your time. Mohamed Refa'a, al-Tahtawi is Mr. Morsi's cabinet chief, and he was talking to us live there from Cairo. Thanks for that.